Hello, welcome to Poetry Changes Lives, this book of poetry and history with a thought for the day thrown in. It's available on Amazon too. Well, on this day in 1478, the well-known writer, humanist and statesman Sir Thomas More was born. More was a great scholar and a very pious man who had in his 20s considered entering a monastery. His writings are still well known today, some of them, but especially his book Utopia, which was about an imaginary land where laws were actually made on the basis of reason and a kind of communism was practiced. And this brought him to the attention at the time of his king, Henry VIII, who was known as one of the most vicious and cruel monarchs ever to sit on the English throne. Well, Thomas More rose to become the king's chief advisor, and that was a very dangerous, dodgy uh, role to have. Henry was much occupied with his quest to find an heir and marry a suitable woman, and he actually married 6 times. And Thomas More was occupied with trying to find a reason acceptable to the Catholic Church for Henry to divorce his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, who was by all accounts a totally admirable woman. Well, More failed eventually because he had to choose between his king and his religious beliefs, and he chose eventually for the latter, and the consequences were dire. He was imprisoned, tried for treason, and executed by a furious Henry VIII. Thomas More's final words were, "The king's good servant, but God's first." He eventually was made a saint, of course, by the Catholic Church. During his imprisonment, Thomas More wrote some verses, and it's always fascinating to me how many people did, in fact, write poetry shortly before they died. It seems they had a sort of impulse to express themselves, and poetry was the ideal way for them to do so. Well, I like these verses. They're very honest and rather good, I think, actually, about fortunes, ups and downs, and lady luck. Here it is. I, flattering fortune, look thou ne'er so fair, or ne'er so pleasantly begin to smile, as though thou wert my ruin all repair. During my life thou shalt not me beguile. Trust shall I God to enter in erewhile, his haven of havens, sure and uniform. After a calm I still expect the storm. Long was I, Lady Luck, your serving man, and now I have lost again all that I have gat. When, therefore, I think of you now and then, and in my mind remember this and that, you may not blame me, though I shrew your cat. In faith, I bless you, and 1,000 times, for lending me some leisure to make these rhymes. I think that's good, very honest. Today I will try to learn from the example of those who have difficult choices to make and manage myself to make the right ones. Thank you for listening.